You had Tim Pool. If the secret Jewish tunnel was built so Jews could worship after New York illegally and unconstitutionally locked down places for worship, then I say based as fuck. Yeah. Based, huh, Tim? Yeah, raping kids in the ass is totally based, isn't it? Totally based. Then we have Avi Yemeni. Notice how many of the COVID freedom fighters are attacking these Jews for building a tunnel during lockdown in defiance of unconstitutional restrictions. We get it. You hate Jews, even the based ones. Yeah, ass rape tunnels are totally fucking based. Totally based, huh? Ian Michaels Chong. For additional context, the Chabad built the tunnels during this scamdemic lockdown so that they could practice their religion on the Sabbath and attend the shul. Remember that during lockdowns, it was illegal in New York to go to church or the synagogue. By the way, Chabad, that's not even their excuse. That's not even their excuse anymore. Their excuse is like it was punk kids. Punk kids digging around like kids in a sandbox and just happened to tunnel a fucking tunnel to the mikvah. But apparently, before they got their story straight, this is what was going on. Gavin McGinnis, the tunnels were a way to expand their real estate. Yeah, expand their real estate. Did you guys see that real estate? The grubby dirt floor, the little hole you had to crawl in through the wall. Yeah, they're just expanding their real estate. Have a way to practice their religion if another pandemic happens. You see, I think he understood that the tunnels were at least built after the pandemics, which we'll go into in a second. They were. Have a place to hide if shit really hits the fan. Oh, really? It's just a little hidey hole. It's just a little Jewish hidey hole. If what shit hits the fan? Unfortunately, they're in the dark ages when it comes to modern life, so they didn't understand how it would look. I don't think you understand how this looks. The quartering. Am I to understand this right? The New York City cops just shut down literal tunnels Hasidic Jews dug just so they could worship during the insane COVID lockdowns? Well, NYC is entirely overrun by crime and illegal immigrants? Again, that's not even the official excuse anymore. That's clearly the excuse that went out to the people on the payroll. I don't even know who the fuck this person is. Chaya something. The disgraceful teens who dug underneath a well-respected synagogue did so on their own after being explicitly told not to. They went against the synagogue leadership. Gen Z was taught that nothing is more important than their own feelings. As if Gen Z Orthodox Jews would even have anything relatable to a Western Gen Z person. So that's how they're trying to frame it, right? At least now they realize, well, we can't use the pandemic excuse anymore. People, they understand the timeline doesn't really add up for that. So now to make an excuse, I'm going to say it's those damn Gen Zers, right? Because who is this really? Who are they really trying to keep from this? Like, who are they really trying to shield from this information, right? Like, who's really left in the audiences of these people? Right? It's the evangelical Israel first retard boomers. And if they happen to end up, seeing that video of the Jew crawling out of the fucking sewer, they need an explanation. And they hate Gen Z. They go, oh, those damn kids. They're right. Gen Z digging tunnels everywhere. I mean, they play Minecraft. That's what happened. It's the fucking Minecraft taught them how to do it. fucking Minecraft, telling them to chip away at fucking tunnels underneath synagogues. Gen Z was taught that nothing's more important than their feelings, and now they're emboldened to act entitled and spoiled with zero regard or respect for others. We keep seeing this time and time again in all our institutions. We must fix the broken education system. It's a rape tunnel. It's a grubby little rape tunnel. The future of our country depends on it. Ashley Sinclair, do you believe this is a Jewish conspiracy that they haven't posted about it? I haven't posted about it either. Mostly because I don't find it interesting. Look, she's one of those women. She's one of those women that when confronted that her people are raping kids in the ass, she's just like looking the other way. Her eyes fail her.
If you support Donald Trump as the president of the United States, then you have to listen to this. Right now, we are asking America First patriots if they believe Trump is doing well in office. If you take this poll, we will send you this Trump legacy bundle for free, completely free. And normally these retail for $166, but if you take the poll, we will send you this for free as a token of our appreciation. And inside the Trump legacy bundle is the Trump assassination bill, the Trump assassination bar, and the Trump assassination coin in one set. And additionally, anyone who takes the poll today, we are including a free Trump red combat knife valued at $69. You're getting all of this for free, sent directly to you. So what do you think? Is Trump doing well in office? We want to know where you stand. You also get exclusive access to poll results showing where patriotic Americans stand on Trump's.
There's not so much info out yet besides them being used during COVID. Yeah, weren't used during COVID. When gatherings were banned, the memes are great though. Do you want Laura to stop campaigning for Trump to go investigate these tunnels? Wouldn't happen. Wouldn't happen. And she's talking about Laura Loomer, obviously. And Laura Loomer, you better fucking believe it, would at least tweet about it if it was any other organization. Boxing MD, I'm not even sure who this is. NYPD arrests and seals off tunnels created in a Brooklyn Chabad, a Hasidic Jewish synagogue. The tunnels were created to avoid the constant shutdown by oppressive new city COVID regimes during COVID. Republicans should admire their fight for religious freedoms against a tyrannical government. So he got the memo. Michael Knowles, the news about the secret Jewish tunnels in the Crown Heights reminds me the Chabadniks are some of my very favorite people. Michael Knowles, he loves the ass fucking. Those are some of his favorite people have a child sodomy rate above 50%. I want you to understand that his favorite people have a child sodomy rate of above 50%. Those are his favorite people. By the way, these are all the same people that'll tell you that you can't have identity. You can't have identity politics. You can't talk about groups unless you're talking about Jews. But the second you start talking about Jews, then you're anti-Semitic. It's also, I think that one of the reasons why you're going to hear some of the crazy conspiracy, like it's the Q-tard tunnels, it's the fucking pedo tunnels, and that's, Hillary was keeping kids down there. They want you to believe that, like, a tunnel that's basically like this. I don't know if you guys seen this. Elites aren't fucking kids in places like this.
Yo. Yo. Oh my God.
It's going to look more like this. This is actually a underground tunnel in New York. There's a bar that inhabits an old tunnel. There are tunnels. Look, there's tunnels all around in New York City and other cities too. A lot of shut down subway tunnels. A lot of there's the big long cattle tunnel. There's lots of tunnels, but not the grubby the grubby Chabad tunnel is just run-of-the-mill Jewish sodomy. That's all that is. Because these are the people you're dealing with. These are the people you're dealing with. These are the people that evangelicals and a lot of the audiences for, the Christian audiences of Ben Shapiro et al. These are the people that think God has chosen over them.
These were arrests on a massive scale. Amongst those taken into custody by the FBI were city mayors, politicians and religious leaders. The authorities needed buses to cope with the sheer scale of the operation.
New Jersey's corruption problem is one of the worst, if not the worst, in the nation. Corruption is not only pervasive, it has become ingrained in New Jersey's political culture.
It's thought that religious charities controlled by prominent rabbis were used to launder cash. The arrests were part of a 10-year operation that uncovered money laundering on an international scale, as well as corruption and the sale of human organs in the US, Switzerland and Israel.
The list of people we arrested sounds like it should be the roster for a meeting of community leaders. But sadly, they weren't meeting in a boardroom this morning. They were in the FBI booking room.
Prosecutors say one rabbi was dealing in human kidneys for transplant for a decade, buying them from vulnerable people at a huge profit. The scale of the corruption across New Jersey has outraged residents.
It just goes back to the belief that Hudson County is incredibly corrupt. And I thought we were making headway and becoming less corrupt.
The number of arrests was remarkable even for New Jersey, where more than 130 public officials have pleaded guilty or been convicted of corruption in the last.
So that's what you're dealing with. That's Jared Kushner's family. They're part of that New Jersey Jewish corruption. But this tunnel was reported on, if you want to look for timeline, all these people trying to act as if, oh no, it's for COVID. It was for COVID. They built it for COVID. No, that's not true. It's not true. They discovered this. Actually, this is a news report from December 22nd. To kind of give you a timeline about how this all this unfolded. Shock and horror in Crown Heights after a tunnel was found burrowed underground in the most unlikely of places. Yeah, so unlikely, right? Under 770 Eastern Parkway in Crown Heights. No, we really aren't joking. Not an Israeli replica of 770 in Eretz Yazol. 770 Eastern Parkway, the headquarters of Lubavitch in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, United States. The accidental discovery happened nearly 3 weeks ago after a series of incidents rang alarm bells with Gaboim of 770, a Union Street homeowner who spoke with Crown Heights and said they had been hearing suspicious noises at night in their home for a period of time. As the noise continued, the concerned homeowner notified someone of the sounds and their suspicion. Around the same time, construction work was underway, placing new plumbing near 770. As the work neared completion, a trench was dug to lay a water line, and surprised workers were shocked to find what appeared to be a tunnel underground, according to a source familiar with the incident. Putting the pieces together, one of the workers in 770 investigated and got the shock of his life when he discovered the tunnel burrowed from the mikveh on the corner of Union Street. Remember, this is the bathhouse where they fuck little kids. On the corner of Union Street and Kingston Avenue, the tunnel allegedly extended from the mikveh under the Kingston Avenue women's section of the 770, where it exited into the building. While details on the tunnel remain scarce, and with some rumors spreading, it appears that a group of Bokaram began digging around 6 months ago in an attempt to expand 770. So that was their excuse. 6 months ago. Had nothing to do with COVID. Six months ago. So that's how it was discovered. They started digging it about 6 months ago, and a few months ago, one of the local residents were hearing Jews under the floorboards.
Shoe brands have been lying to you. Do you want to know why? Nobody believed me at first, but now everyone.
And then when they were going in to repair some water pipes, they dug a trench and found the tunnel. And when the city officials found out about it, they were going to go fill it up with concrete because it was undermining the foundations of the neighboring buildings. And so when you watch this video here and you see them protesting, they're mad because they don't want you to fill in their tunnel. This isn't just a few. First of all, this is not a tunnel that they built for COVID. This was 6 months ago, well after COVID. And it wasn't just a handful of teenagers that were mucking about playing Shawshank Redemption. And I'm sorry, I find it hard to believe that you could have that would even be possible. Like I said, this is basically one of their holiest sites. And if the people that lived above the tunnel were hearing them digging this tunnel out, you're trying to tell me that a bunch of teenagers snuck into one of their holiest sites, one of the holiest sites of Chabad Lubavitch, dug a tunnel to the mikveh, and just nobody knew about it? Then if that was the case, who are all these people protesting? Who are all these people trying to stop the police? Who are all these people that had to be let out in cuffs? Right? Who are these guys? Oh, those damn kids playing around, pretending that they were in Shawshank. Actually, you right-wingers who are talking bad about these super-based Jews that all they wanted to do was get into their church during the lockdowns. Well, that's weird because it's not like the tunnel system went to their houses. You're trying to tell me they can go to the mikveh? They can go to the kiddie rape house, but they couldn't go to the shul? Yeah, police didn't care if they went to the kiddie rape house. So the good thing about this is it gives everyone an opportunity to know which of the people on the so-called right wing are willing to cover up for little boy fuckers. That's what it comes down to. The people who, to them, a paycheck is more important than protecting little boys getting fucked in the ass. I mean, these are people, I guess. I mean, they say they love Jews. Just not the 7-year-old Jews that are getting fucked in the ass, I guess, right? Because they don't have enough money. They don't have enough money to be loved, right? And look, the reason why they're like this, the reason why they say this stuff is their audience is basically a bunch of death cult members. They're a bunch of death cult members that don't listen to reason. They sound identical to other death cults that we've covered in the past. Wait, hold on. I'm bad at the audio tonight.
The countdown to Armageddon has begun.
This planet is about to be recycled.
And our only hope is that Jesus will return soon to take his children home.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Though today's global powers make every attempt to establish binding agreements with other nations, God will have the final say.
This is the end of the age.
The end of the world is coming, and there's nothing we can do to stop it.
At the end of the age, the planet is wiped clean.
Those are the people you're dealing with. These psycho-Zionist evangelicals are basically Heaven's Gate. But instead of worshiping aliens that are coming here on a comet, they worship Jews. That's why when they're so inconsistent, no one fucking bats an eye. Like the cognitive dissonance is so thick. They don't realize how hypocritical they're being. That's why they can look at these influencers, right? These influencers that are constantly telling them, oh, the woke, they're trying to censor us. Oh, remember, like, especially in 2017 and 18, all these people who were not censored at all, like at all. Like, people like me, we're actually not allowed to monetize anything. We're getting kicked off platforms. We're getting our accounts banned and stuff like that. And they're like, well, I didn't get as many retweets this week, so I think I'm being shadow banned. Why are you censoring us? We didn't sell as many mugs this week, so clearly we're being shadow banned. We're being censored. Censorship is wrong. Right? No, it's so wrong. And it became like this whole thing, right? The right became famous. Oh, for the first time, all of a sudden, the right hated censorship. That's all you heard about for like fucking 3 years. Big tech censorship. Big tech censorship. When none of these motherfuckers were getting censored. Maybe a handful of exceptions. But then Ron DeSantis literally goes to Israel, flies to Israel to sign a censorship bill banning people from making fun of Israel in Israel. Ron DeSantis, a governor of an American state, flies to a foreign country and bans criticism of that foreign state. And no one thinks that's weird. No one complains about that. No one has a problem with that. Just like when more recently, a couple days ago, Ron DeSantis, today I'm directing Florida's colleges and universities to make it easier for Jewish students to transfer to a Florida higher education institution. While leaders of elite universities enable anti-Semitism, we will protect Jewish students and welcome them to Florida.
Welcome back to the Bob and Tom Show.
Dad, you're going to kill me. I left my iPad and my iPad cord in.
This account loves me. Stop anti-Semitism. Florida, as a result of the skyrocketing cases of anti-Semitism students across the U.S. are facing, Governor Ron DeSantis is directing the state university system and Florida college system to waive credit hour requirements and application date windows to make it easier for Jewish students facing anti-Semitism on their campuses to transfer into a Florida-based college university. In-state tuition may be granted on a case-by-case basis. This is the emergency order. He signed an emergency order. These same Republicans that go and watch all these content creators that were telling you about the COVID cave, that for the last 4 years, all that you've heard is like, oh, all these, we shouldn't have all these safe spaces. We shouldn't have the safe spaces for these woke people. And, it shouldn't matter the color of your skin. It's the content of your character, like Martin Luther King would say, right? We shouldn't have all these little special things for people. We should really, because it's really racist. Critical race theory, it's actually bad for black people. But we can sign a law banning you from making fun of Jews in a foreign country, and then issue out an emergency order giving in-state tuition to Jews and favoring Jews at state-funded universities in Florida. And they don't put it together in their head. That's why these people can tell their retarded fucking audience about the COVID caves, because they've been lying to them for fucking years and they haven't caught on to a single one of them yet. Oh yeah, those Jews, they really are based. They're little COVID caves. Those are fucking based caves. We should have COVID caves. Yeah, you're just a Jew hater. Jew hater. You just wish you had your own COVID cave. And they're all fucking like this.
We should be doing three things. One, support Israel, whatever they need, whenever they need it, no questions asked. Two, eliminate Hamas. Don't weaken them, eliminate them, because if we don't, they will do this again. And three, do whatever it takes to get our hostages home. But see the bigger picture of all of this. There would be no Hamas without Iran. And look at what the bigger story of this all is. You have China and Russia name themselves unlimited partners. Iran is their junior partner. China is importing all of its oil from Iran, sending billions of dollars their way that they support terrorism with. Russia's
all right, World War III. Why?
We should be doing three things. One, support Israel, whatever they need, whenever they need it, no questions asked.
Quick to the COVID caves. And while this is going on, you have Palantir software, basically they do a lot of the spying software for the deep state. They've worked with Trump on his campaign in 2016. Jewish company, basically in America. Peter Thiel, big funder of Palantir. And they have now announced that they are going to hire Jews, and Jews only. How many of these right-wingers that have been complaining about diversity hires all week long and talking about the, like Matt Walsh, I saw Matt Walsh was very upset. Very upset because of the diversity hires are going to cause more plane crashes. And, all this diversity stuff, it's really bad because it's making everything suck in our country. Yeah, you going to complain about this? You going to complain about this company specifically announcing they're going to just hire Jews? And why not? They're basically Mossad. I mean, look at that guy. That's the CEO. Alex Karp, Jewish, of course, basically operating a Mossad company within the United States.
Palantir's been working with the Israelis for years. I know much of it is secret as well, but knowing that this horrific situation, the attack by the terrorists on October 7th and the ensuing war, can Palantir help the Israeli military, excuse me if I sound stupid about this, but I'm really quite interested in locating hostages, helping soldiers navigate tunnels?
We are very well known in Israel.
Oh, we know all about tunnels in Israel. Tunnels, you say? Oh, tunnels, you say? We're the tunnel experts. We're the, over 50% of us are very familiar with tunnels.
Israel appreciates our product, and it's also very well known that I'm one of the very few public CEOs that's publicly pro-Israel. I'm also engaged, as I think all Americans should be, in speaking out against the scourge of anti-Semitism in this country, especially at our elite institutions. America software is the best. Our battlefield software is the most robust and tested in the world, and I'm confident it's being used in the most important places. Can't say much more about how it's used in Israel, but I am very proud to stand with Israel and support them.
It's interesting. You've been really out front on that this weekend at the Reagan National Defense Forum. You slammed corporate America for its silence in the wake of the October 7th Hamas terror attacks. This is Ivy League presidents embarrassed themselves before Congress Tuesday. I mean, there's no other way to put it, with their inability to denounce.
See, and she knows her audience. As she talks, just realize who the fuck's watching Fox Business. You think Zoomers are watching Fox Business? You think millennials have enough money to invest anywhere to where they're watching Fox Business? No, this is boomers that are like, oh, I know, it's a shame. Oh, good Lord. Have you seen what's been happening at these, these elite, these woke colleges? That's the thing. They got so involved with this woke garbage that now it's starting to be a problem. These woke people are just what about, and now it's hurting Jews. I was okay with this woke stuff when it was just hurting people like us. I mean, we're not God's chosen people, so what does it matter that when they're anti-white, these colleges, I would maybe grumble a little bit on Twitter and maybe say something like, those woke people. I would never make it a racial issue, though, because I don't see race. Race is skin deep, and I don't care about that. So when I would hear about these colleges having anti-white policies, I would just complain about the wokeness. And I was, I knew that the word woke was a safe word to use. I could say that because people on Fox News would say that. They'd say, the woke was bad. So I would say the woke was bad, too, because, that was totally safe for me to say. I would never have to pay any kind of social price by saying I didn't like woke, because literally everyone says that. Even leftists will say that. So, but that was when they weren't going after Jews. Right? They're going after Jews, and now that's a problem because, once these universities, it was one thing when they hated white people, but I'll be goddamn if I let those universities go after my favorite people and God's favorite people, by the way, should I mention the Jews. You can come at me and my kind all you want, but you go after the Jews, now you're fucking with God's chosen people.
Shoe companies have been lying to you. Want to know why? My doctor didn't believe me at first.
That's who's watching this shit, and she knows it. She's one of them. Look at her. She's like, oh, it's disgusting that the way these elite colleges have just. I'm so glad that you're enacting discriminatory hiring practices because it's benefiting God's favorite people, the Jews. Now, if she had heard that some company, it wouldn't matter what company it was, if she had heard that there was some company that was disgusted by the anti-white hatred, disgusted by the decades and decades of affirmative action, the same people who, by the way, will dance around the topic a little bit because they don't want planes to fly out of the fucking sky. If she found out that some other company was like, you know what, we're concerned about all this diversity hiring really disenfranchising capable and qualified white men who are being passed over for underqualified or just simply unqualified minorities and women. And so we've decided to only hire white men. Oh, she'd be aghast. She'd be up in arms. She'd be upset. She'd be right there with you. It's insane. It's the fucking mind. This is why we have to wait for these fucking people to die off. And you're seeing it right now. You're seeing it right now. Right now, what you're seeing is that the young are taking a huge right turn. We'll see where it goes, but look. I mean, look, I'm literally called black-pilled. And I'm telling you, there is a peeling away. There's a peeling away. This kind of shit that she's spouting does not resonate with anyone under 40. That's for goddamn sure.
Embarrassed themselves before Congress Tuesday. I mean, there's no other way to put it, with their inability to denounce anti-Semitism and genocidal threats made to the Jewish students on their campus. A lot of people applaud you, Alex, for your outspokenness, but why is it important for you as the CEO of a tech company to speak out?
Well, Palantir stands for Western values, and if you don't think Western values like transparency, fairness, protection of civil liberties are important,
Kill Whitey!
Yeah! Watch the abysmal appearance of those presidents from our elite institutions and ask yourself what it means to be represented by people who cannot condemn genocidal rhetoric while restricting every form of free speech over the last 20 years. We must do better on the battlefield. We must do better in the battlefield of ideas, and we have to protect the values that are near and dear to all of our hearts, or at least all of us that want a better and stronger world. And this new, thin, and highly destructive religion whose vapors are being inhaled and kept in the lungs of our young elite students are dangerous to the world and dangerous to our society. And those of us, especially like myself, who are consider themselves progressive, we must speak up.
Okay, that's a great answer, in my opinion. Our viewers need to hear this kind of stuff.
Well, that's exactly what these people need to hear. That's what these kids these days, these fucking Zoomers, they're underneath the shul, digging up tunnels, they just care about themselves. They're so focused on their own feelings, they don't think about the feelings of Jews. They really need to hear this stuff. I'm so glad you were here to straighten us all out. War criminal. Genocidal maniac with the crazy hair to match. I mean, at this point, the reason why, here's the funny thing. Here's something you got to think about, right? Here's something you got to think about. I was telling you, this is a clip that will live on forever, right? This is a clip that will live on forever, not just in the history books or whatever digital format it ends up being. But in the minds of everyone who saw it, and isn't it funny that when people see stuff like this, the first thing that comes to mind is rape tunnel. Look, there is a peeling away. There is a peeling away. And there's some pretty prominent people that are starting to realize this. They're starting to realize that the Overton window is shifting and they have to adjust. They have to adjust. You see, here's the thing. I've always said that, red pilling the normies is that's not going to happen in the way that a lot of people think, where they think that, if enough people wake up, then, we can rise up and overthrow that. That's not what happens. What happens is if enough people disagree vehemently with what the ruling class is saying, it's harder for them to control things, and it's easier for another force, not you, not some grassroots thing that doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist, sorry. It just doesn't exist. But it creates that opportunity. It creates that opportunity for another powerful force to swoop in and say, oh, you don't like these guys? Oh, well, how about us? 9 times out of 10, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, but that is the issue. That is what some of these people are worried about, because these content creators that I used to watch, I told you guys, I used to pay for Prager fucking Topia. I used to pay for, this was back in the day, right? I used to pay every month for my 3 hours a day of Dennis Prager, the commercial-free downloads, right? And I always thought it was weird, but it had always been the thing that 9 times out of 10 you're listening to the show, and it wouldn't matter if it was Prager, it could be Sean Hannity. They weren't always Jewish, but there was 9 times out of 10, Israel would get mentioned somehow. And it was just usually it was it was kind of out of left field, but they would kind of tie it in to something, right? And it was always just this matter-of-fact thing that of course you're conservative, right? Of course you support Israel. What did I know? I didn't know anything about geopolitics when I was a kid, so I was just I guess Israel's our greatest ally or something. They keep saying that. All the people that think gay marriage is bad like I do. They all seem to agree that Israel's awesome, so I guess. I don't know. What do I know? And then after a while, as I matured and I started to learn more about, the world, I started to wonder, why are they always... I guess it's because they're all Jews. The more that I'm looking at this, Dennis Prager's a Jew. Michael Medved's a Jew. Savage is a Jew. Mark Levin is a Jew, and then after a while you're like, wait, why are there so many of them Jews? This is weird. Now all this is, why are there, because it seems like a lot of the left-wing people are Jews too, like Jon Stewart and everything else. And when you think Jews, you don't think right-wing necessarily. So, why are so many of these people Jews? And then you start to think that,
before I die, I want everyone with memory loss to see this. Hi, I'm Olivia, a neurologist and
maybe that's just, that's a product of them being Jews. Jews are in show business, so obviously they're going to be in broadcasting. And so even when it's right-wing broadcasting, it's going to be Jews because they're just in broadcasting. And so the support of Israel stuff, it's just kind of it's like the salad dressing, right? It just comes with it. But then after a while, you realize, no, the right-wing talking point, the conservative talking points, that's the salad dressing. Israel, support of Israel has always been the meal. The conservative talking points is just what they dressed it up as. So you would inhale the support for Israel. That was the seasoning, was the, gay marriage is bad. Make sure you support Israel. Oh yeah, Obama sucks. Make sure you support Israel. Oh yeah, the border, it's real bad. You have all these illegal immigrants coming across. Support Israel. Oh yeah, I hate abortion too. Did you know you should support Israel? And they were able to maintain this facade. They were able to maintain this because it didn't really matter. There was never really a conflict because the right wing in America, the political elites, they did support Israel. Right? There was never really a moment where the two conflicted, ever. And it was easy to frame support of Israel and still maintain this facade of conservative values, because even though, like the whole foreign policy thing never added up, they had been so successful destroying people like Pat Buchanan, people that had mentioned that, people like Ron Paul, people that were on the right, people that were conservatives, excuse me, people that were willing to oppose this blind support of Israel because it just didn't make sense. If it didn't add up, it wasn't compatible with the conservative values. They were so able and easily destroyed these people that all the other elected officials, they saw what happened. They didn't want that to happen to their careers. So it just stopped being a talking point. You could be against foreign aid for any other country, but you couldn't for Israel. And you know what? The war on terror just made it make more sense. Right? The war on terror made it you could make sense of it, because you could say, well, Israel, they're the only democracy in the Middle East. So of course we have to support them, because all these fucking goat fuckers they're blowing up our buildings, and they're stabbing us on trains and shit. Like they're suicide bombers, and they're just good thing we have Israel out there to help us out. That's why they deserve our money. But the jig is up. The jig is up. The hypocrisy is just so obvious now. When you have little freakouts like this from Ben Shapiro, it's way too fucking obvious.
But you will believe that the Jews are the bad guys. That's what they're counting on. That you will believe that the Jews are the bad guys. Even after the Jews get slaughtered in their beds, you will believe that if only the Jews had just given a little more, only a little more. Now, this does betray something else about the West. A latent Jew hatred that exists across the West, because let's be real about this. None of this conversation was happening after 9/11. When a lot of conversation in the United States about, when we go in and we bomb from 30,000 feet and we kill a load of civilians, the real question is the human rights. Are we being careful enough? Should it be a short duration? After you kill 3,000 Americans, you know what happens? We flatten you. That's what happens. But when Israel has its borders permeated by terrorists who murder 1,300 Jews in a widespread assault lasting hours on end, when that happens, then it's like, wow, those Jews, man, they really got to be a little more careful, those Jews. Why can't they just be more careful? If only they'd given a little bit harder. There's something going on that is simply beyond Western ignorance, and it gets into something much deeper and darker.
All of a sudden, audience is for these people who existed to keep you in your lane. They were more than happy to feed you, immigration bad, trans kids bad, support Israel. Censorship bad, support Israel. Once you started to have some of these conflicts where you couldn't support free speech and Israel at the same time, you couldn't support not wrapping up, getting America involved in foreign wars after the disasters that Afghanistan and really just every war we've been in the Middle East. After, decades of disastrous wars, Americans getting fed up and tired of it, you couldn't support Israel and also be against these Middle Eastern wars. You couldn't be against censorship. You couldn't, you couldn't do it. And all these little freakouts all of a sudden after October 7th made it very obvious to a lot of people. A lot of people were looking at Ben Shapiro and doing this little freakout, and really what they were seeing, they were seeing this. The jig is up. So now, of course, you have to have some, look, it's so obvious now, this is a good thing. It's a good thing, but just, you got to keep it in mind, right? These aren't stupid people. They're not ruling the fucking planet out of just sheer luck, okay? Some of them. But it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. That's why all of a sudden you're seeing stuff like this, stuff that, like, I think a lot of people are getting too excited about, which is often the case with Tucker, right? With Tucker, it's always like, oh, white pilled, oh, black pilled again. It's just like, dude, just fucking, just learn how this works. But the fact that people like Tucker have to address this stuff should tell you something.
Watch it now with Israel. I watched in particular, there was a lot of consternation around some comments you made, I think by Ben Shapiro and other, where you were like, well, I've never seen this level of care about Americans who are dying of fentanyl, which I think is a traditional nationalist message. And yet I've watched the entire kind of right-wing ecosystem get embroiled in fundamentally what is a third world conflict. Now, we can say support, not support, we can have criticisms, etc. of that. But what explains this, like, literal allegiance to narrative on Ukraine, on Israel? Why is it that so many of these people don't seem to have the same level of care for actual American citizens?
I find it really distressing. And in both of those conflicts, I approached it with a clean conscience because I just don't have strong feelings one way or the other. And I'm not hostile. I've never hated Ukraine. I don't have any feelings about Ukraine.
NASA astronauts use this strange brain ritual to stay sharp in space. And now it's helping.
In Russia, same thing. I've never been to either place, and I'm not invested emotionally. So I could just look at it from an American perspective. In the case of Israel and the Arab world, I've spent a fair amount of time in both, and I like both. And I felt terrible for the people who were killed on October 7th. I still do. So I had no weird motive. I was just like thinking about it from an American perspective. Is this good for us or is it not? And
by the way, this is called mirroring. He's mirroring his perceived audience.
I was just amazed by the intolerance and the willingness to immediately go to invective and character assassination. And it's like, I said, first of all, if the people who live in Gaza who are being moved out are so evil and dangerous that they can't live in the region, why would you want them to move into my country? I mean, what are you saying? They can't live there because it's too scary to live next to them, but they can live next to me? So at that point, I felt very hostile about that because it showed such contempt for me and my family and my neighbors and my country. It is my country. That's how I feel about it anyway. It's all of our country. And so I was like disgusted by that. And I said so, and I don't know why that's weird. Why wouldn't I be offended by that? And then it was immediately, I'm a hater or a bigot or something like that. None of that registered with me because, first of all, I've been attacked for so long, but attacks that aren't true, if somebody said, wow, you've gained some weight this summer, I'd be like, oh, it would hurt my feelings because it's true. But if someone's like, oh, you're a hater, or you hate, that's not true. So I don't really care. But I did think it showed like the level of not just corruption, which I knew, but of like emotional instability and craziness. I mean, there are people, and I stopped reading any of it, but there are people on the right who have spent the last 2 months every single day focused on a conflict in a foreign country as their own country becomes dangerously unstable on the brink of financial collapse, with tens of millions of people who shouldn't be here in the country. We don't know their identities or the purpose of their being here. Like stuff that's could destroy the country for real and make it impossible for my kids to live here. They've said nothing about that, and they're focused with laser intensity on foreign conflicts. And I'm like, at some point, I've got 4 kids. If I'm so caught up in the problems of my neighbor's children and completely ignoring my own children as they get addicted to drugs and kill themselves, I'm not against helping my neighbor's kids, but clearly I don't love my kids. I mean, that's the only logical conclusion.
So that's the thing, is that a lot of the narratives that we've been ramming down the throats of people for years now, as they're becoming more mainstream, people like this are having to mirror these thoughts. They're having to mirror these thoughts. You got to remember, Tucker Carlson's book, Ship of Fools, and I've mentioned this before, he himself has said the reason he wrote it was because he saw the ruling class ignoring the concerns of the people. And his fear was that the people would become so disenchanted with the ruling class that the pitchforks would come out. And so, again, this is the way he framed it. He wrote that book as a warning to the ruling class that, hey, you can't just keep ignoring these people. And look, we've seen him warn the ruling class in other ways.
I also think a lot of people, especially white Christians, they're resisting identity politics. They don't want to go to that next step, but that's where it's heading. I mean, it's going there quickly. I mean, white identitarianism is going to happen, and they want it to happen.
They're creating it, and I speak for myself as someone who's 54 and grew up in a totally different country. I don't want to identify as white. I don't even like thinking about that stuff. I like thinking about how people really are. I don't like thinking of them as members of groups.
Yep.
And they're pushing it. They're like, everyone has an identity. Everyone's a member of an identity group except the majority, who are despised, and we're trying to make them into the minority, but you're not allowed to organize as a specific as your identity. And it's like they're not only encouraging it, they're guaranteeing its emergence.
See, that's a warning. That's a warning. This is the future he doesn't want. He's saying, hey, you keep focusing on Israel and people are going to notice you don't give a fuck about them. Hey, you keep allowing every other group to identify as their group, and while depriving whites of the same thing, they're going to do it. They're going to figure it out. They're going to do the math. And this isn't anything new. In October 2001, Jewish supremacist Stephen Steinlight published a paper entitled The Jewish Stake in America's Changing Demography, Reconsidering a Misguided Immigration Policy. In this paper, which is freely available online, Steinlight admitted that the Jews have been behind the United States mass immigration open borders policy with the express intent of reducing white Americans to a minority. However, Steinlight proposes to his fellow Jews that America's demographic transformation is happening too quickly. The problem, Steinlight says, is that too quick of a transformation to a non-white majority is a threat to Jewish power. Steinlight says that the source of the Jewish power in America is white guilt over the Holocaust, and that this is how they have been able to reign supreme. Steinlight is worried that if whites become a minority too quickly, the new majority of color will no longer have any connection to or feel any guilt for the Holocaust. Remember, this is from 2001 he wrote this. He is worried that the new non-white majority will no longer want to give Jews special privileges and that they will no longer want to support the state of Israel. Therefore, Steinlein proposes that non-white immigration must be drastically reduced to manageable levels, which will give the Jews more time to brainwash the newcomers with Jewish propaganda. We've got the required Holocaust education in, I think, 26 states. Might be up to 28 now, but there's proposed legislation in almost all the rest of them. Steinlein specifically mentions the need to reduce Hispanic and Muslim immigration. Steinlein is also concerned that the speed of the demographic transformation is angering white Americans. He is afraid that if the Jews do not slow down the flood of immigration, whites will become increasingly racially conscious. Sound a little bit like Tucker? And there will be a violent backlash against the Jews. By reducing immigration, the Jews can pacify whites. He also proposes another tool to prevent white solidarity, a revival of American patriotism. A civic nationalism must be revived so that the loyalty to America will outweigh any ethnic loyalties among the Gentile populace. In the end, Steinlein says, a white majority in America is still the goal, but the Jews must do it. A white minority is still the goal, but the Jews must do it more gradually. I'll confess it, at least like thousands of other typical Jewish kids of my generation, I was reared as a Jewish nationalist, even a quasi-separatist. Every summer for 2 months, or for 10 formative years during my childhood and adolescence, I attended Jewish summer camp. There, each morning, I saluted a foreign flag.
The fastest way to get anything you want is by detaching. So to manifest abundance, you need to detach and raise your frequency. But how do you do that?
What if the flag, dressed in a uniform reflecting its colors, sang a foreign national anthem, learned a foreign language, learned foreign folk songs and dances, and was taught that Israel was the true homeland? Emigration to Israel was considered the highest virtue, and like many other Jewish teens of my generation, I spent 2 summers working in Israel on a collective farm while I contemplated that possibility. More tacitly and subconsciously, I was taught the superiority of my people to the Gentiles who had oppressed us. We were taught to view non-Jews as untrustworthy outsiders, people from whom sudden gusts of hatred might be anticipated, people less sensitive, less intelligent, and moral than ourselves. We were also taught the lesson of our dark history is that we could rely on no one. This is the issue. This is what they're worried about. When you see a handful of right-wingers that are mainstream say, "Oh, hold on, ease up on the gas a little bit, ease it up. I think we're going to go flying off the rails." That's what they're worried about. That's what they're worried about. They're worried about losing control of the populace. And again, not because the populace will somehow rise up against them and blah, 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 blah. No, but because they will go the sorts of things that Matt Walsh was tweeting about before I went live about the airlines, right? That there are other competing powers in the world, like Russia, like China, like Iran, etc., etc., etc. And that if all of a sudden, because you move too fast, You got high on your own supply and started pushing all this shit, who would have thought, right? Exterminating the Goyim would go so smoothly. You will have airplanes falling out of the sky. You will have a lack of a manufacturing base that could even provide weapons if you were to get into a war with another superpower. Or that you would have these white people that you're getting rid of, the ones that are left, willing to join up to go die for your cause. See, that's the real problem. That's why it's worth it to do what we're doing here tonight and what other people are doing out there, what many of you are doing in your personal sphere and online and everything else. That's why it's worth doing, not because a bunch of us are going to jump in the back of a pickup truck and, as I've said before, with an AR-15 and roll up on Washington, D.C. or whatever. No, it's because they can't rule a nation of retards and still remain powerful. If you deprive them of your white power that literally was the engine of the West. What do you think was making the West so successful all this time? You really believe that the blacks built America? You really think the slaves did that? No one actually believes that shit. No one actually believes it. Not even they believe it. The blacks. If they did, they would have gone back to Africa a long fucking time ago. How do I know this? Because if the inverse was true, right? If there was like some continent of white people that no one wanted to go to, tons of opportunity, and if I brought money with me, it'd be worth like way more than what anyone else there made in a lifetime. I'd go, you'd go, we'd all go, right? We'd all go to the white Africa, the white version of Africa. Every white person would leave America to the white Africa. Go live like fucking kings in white Africa. But they don't do it. Of course they don't do it because they know too. But they move too fast. And I've mentioned before, I think another reason that they, another one of their plans, I don't know if this is like a backup plan or if this was part of the whole time, is they're hoping to God that automation will catch up. That AI can start doing the things that they used to need white people for. Because you'd have to be fucking crazy to be white and work for the machine at this point. Because it's literally a machine that's purpose is to kill you. So why are you working for it?
What's feeling today? Huh? Jews? No, I'm Muslim. Please. Well, what to give you feeling if you're Jewish? If you're Jewish, I want to give you something. I'm good, I don't want to thank you.
Tricoms made that tunnel. Fucking Tricoms. So anyway, that's the real issue right now. This incident with the rape tunnel really kind of more so than I think October 7th, or maybe just in addition to, really is showing you who's on your side and who's not. Because it really is. It's people who would rather defend baby fuckers. They would rather defend baby fuckers than support their own people. Look, and the people that are Jews, I get it, right? They are supporting their own people. But the white people that are doing this, the worst kind of fucking people. Anyway, I was gonna read a bunch of this stuff, like describing what a mikvah is, because it's just so fucking weird. But I mean, you get it. It's just like, you know, it's obvious, right? Like I said in that article, that's I mean, that rabbi was pretty explicit about what goes on in the mikvah. I don't think I need to I don't think I have to be any more explicit. But even like the official reasons, it's just so fucking twisted. And you can't.
Our nation is standing up for American workers, restoring the pride of making products here at home.
You can't have the kind of country that the founding fathers set up and also house these people. You just can't do it. All right, let's take a look at hyperchats. Holy shit.